You did everything right. So why does it feel like you're operating in second gear? You followed the plan. Stable career, respectable field, the kind of job that makes your parents stop worrying about you at Thanksgiving. You put in the time, built the credentials, showed up every day and did the work. And now you're sitting in a role that looks exactly like success. And something about it feels completely wrong. It's not broken. It's not a disaster. It's just muted. Like you're running on 4 cylinders when you know darn well you've got 8. Most people in that situation assume the problem is with them. Maybe they don't work hard enough. Maybe they chose the wrong specialization. Maybe they just need to push through it until it starts to feel right. Here's what nobody's going to tell you about at a career fair or a LinkedIn seminar. The problem might not be you at all. The problem might just be the environment. There's the type of person you've met before, even if you couldn't name what made them different. They're fine in normal conditions, they're present, content, and reasonably engaged. But when things start to fall apart, or when the timeline collapses, and when everyone else is looking at each other trying to figure out who's going to make the call, something inside of them shifts. They get quieter, faster, and definitely more certain. While everyone else is processing, they're already moving. They don't need the full picture. They don't need perfect conditions. They take what's in front of them and they make a decision and adjust as the situation develops. The goal isn't to get exactly right. The goal is to keep the whole thing from falling apart. This isn't someone who handles pressure well. This is someone who is actually activated by it. There's a difference, and that's a significant one. The conventional career advice machine, the guidance counselors, the job placement frameworks, the assessment tools that tell you whether you're an introvert or a team player was built around a particular model of success. It's stable and predictable and scalable, and most importantly, repeatable. Find something you're good at, get certified in it, show up consistently, and move up the ladder in an orderly fashion. That model works reasonably well if you're a certain kind of person in a certain environment. For the person described above, it's slow motion disaster. Not because they can't do the work, they certainly can. They'll meet your expectations. They'll show up every day and check all the boxes and produce acceptable results. But the edge that makes them genuinely valuable, the part that activates when conditions get difficult, when decisions have real consequences, when somebody has to move fast and own it, that part never gets turned on. And over time, that person starts to wonder what's wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with them. They're a pressure instrument living in a static environment. Of course they feel off. In the Compavra system, this is the independent, operator, and adaptive rhythm. 3 words that mean something very specific. Independent. They work best with autonomy. Give them a problem and get out of the way. They don't need someone to define their process and check their work every 20 minutes. They build their own structure, they make their own calls, and they own the outcome. Supervision isn't a comfort to them, it's actually friction. Then you have operator. They execute, not strategize, not theorize, execute. Real work, real conditions, real results. When something needs to get done under circumstances that aren't ideal, this is the profile you want in the room. Adaptive rhythm. Their performance doesn't require a stable baseline. It doesn't degrade when conditions shift. It improves. Urgency, real-time decision-making, and genuine unpredictability are not obstacles for this profile. They are the conditions under which this profile does its best work. Now you put all 3 of these together and you get someone who is most effective precisely when the environment is least cooperative. Field operations, construction, emergency services, logistics under constraint, live production, high-stakes service environments where The work is real. The timeline matters, and the conditions don't stay fixed long enough for rigid systems to take hold. These are places where change is built into the structure of the work. It's not treated as a problem to be managed, but accepted as the baseline reality for everyone operating inside of it. That distinction matters more than it sounds. This profile doesn't need chaos. Don't mistake that. They're not chasing disorder for their own sake. What they need is an environment where adjustment is part of the job rather than failure of a plan. The moment you put them into something static, highly scripted or tightly controlled, slow to change, or long feedback loops, the gradual fade begins. They don't collapse. They don't quit. They just slowly stop being who they actually are. Because this profile performs well under pressure, they tend to get more of it. They become the person who gets called when something breaks, when the timeline is already on fire, when somebody needs to make a decision in the next 10 minutes and nobody else is willing to make it. At first, that feels like a recognition, like the system finally sees what they can do. Over time, it can become something else entirely. The environment stops fixing its actual problems and it starts using the person to absorb them instead. Every broken process, every poorly managed timeline, every decision that should have been made 3 weeks ago, it all flows downhill to the one person who can handle it all. That's not a career. That's a load-bearing device being asked to compensate for structurally unsound building. For this profile to hold up long-term, the intensity has to be balanced by recovery. Periods of high demand followed by periods where the system actually resets. Without that, even the strongest operators in this profile will start to degrade. If you spent years performing below your ceiling, capable, functional, meeting expectations, but never quite operating at the level you know you can, it's worth asking a different question than the one most people ask. Not, what am I doing wrong? Not, do I need to try harder? But, is this the right environment for how I actually operate? The career might be correct. It's the environment that might be the problem. That's a completely different conversation, and it's worth having before you walk away from something you've spent years building, or before you spend another decade grinding through a mismatch nobody helped you identify. Compavra doesn't tell you what you're good at. It tells you where you'll actually function well long term. And thank you for watching.